Welcome to another edition of Teach the Geek interviews. My name is Neil Thompson. I'm the founder of Teach the Geek. It's an online platform for science and engineering professionals. You can check it out at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Today, my guest is Oana Velcu-Laitinen. She was an academic and she became a solopreneur, and she's the author of the book, How to Develop Your Creativity at Work. I became aware of Dr. Velcu-Laitinen by Oscar Santalala. He was a former guest. He told me that she works with scientists and technology professionals on applying their creativity in their work. So having her as a guest was a no-brainer for me. So I'm really keen on learning about her transition from academia to self-employment, her interest in creativity, and the ways that she helps technical professionals use creativity in their work. I don't know her book, of course. Welcome to Teach the Geek interviews, Dr. Velcu-Laitinen.
That's great to be here, Neil.
So my first question is, from the bit of research I did on you, I saw you got a PhD in accounting information systems. What was the motivation to get that degree?
Well, my bachelor's degree was in international business, and I felt that I understood about different areas of business like marketing, finance, accounting, but human resources. But I felt that at that time when I graduated in 2000, centuries ago, I felt that, the future belongs to technology, and I didn't know much about it. So I decided to continue my education. And so I got accepted to a master's degree in accounting information systems, and I got a taste of programming. It was for the first time in my life when I learned to program HTML, PHP, XML, and it was very exciting building databases. And then I continued. I was offered a doctorate position at one of the universities here in Helsinki. So I thought that, hey, this is very interesting, even if I was a bit afraid in the beginning if I should go for a PhD, because I thought that it's for super brainy people. But then the professor who recruited me, he said that, well, let's have a bet that you can do it. So he won the bet.
Nice. But then you went on and did postdoctoral studies. What was the motivation to do that?
Because I am the kind of person who likes to learn. I learn every day, and I read, like books from different domains of expertise. And for a while, I thought I'd like to continue in the academia, and that's why I did actually 2 postdocs. And but then it was this, like in the movie Inception, there was this thought in the back of my mind that maybe I need to try something else outside the academia. And this thought came from my observation when I did my research for my doctoral studies, that I went to different Finnish companies and I was interviewing them on how they manage the implementation of their ERP systems. And the more I was asking about technical aspects, the more I had the feeling that the soft side of a technical implementation was quite neglected. And that this thought that this one was in the back of my mind, like, what if you go out there to help companies develop also this aspect of change management, of making sure that people are on the same boat with why we do it, and they share the vision. And then I decided to make the change. I said, what the heck, I'm going to give it a try. And as I said, I'm the kind of person who likes learning. And I knew that it's very high risk to embarrass myself in front of all my colleagues from the academia. But still, I wanted to do it out of curiosity.
I had another guest on the podcast. His name is Dr. Dave Giltner, and he helps people who are in academia move from academia to industry. And I get the sense that a lot of people that, especially the ones that go on and do postdocs, they were the ones that were trying to stay in academia, become tenure track faculty, that type of thing. But something that he has to kind of break down to the people he talks to is, there's only so many jobs that are in academia. There's way more opportunity in industry. So if you're someone who wants to stay in academia, it's going to be a much harder road to go down just because of the lack of, or just because of the lack of opportunities there are as opposed to in industry. So if you're really looking to, actually get paid and live indoors and eat food and all those other things, and you're waiting for an academic position to do that, you might be out of luck. It might be in your best interest to give industry a look. So when you left your postdoc position, did you go into industry or did you go become a solopreneur right away?
No, I became right away solopreneur. Of course, I had some a break from the job market because I became a mother. And during this break, I had a bit of time, as much as a mother has time, to reflect on what I'm going to do. So I prepared by getting a new specialization as a coach. I graduated from 2 coaching programs. And then I decided that, I'm going to try it on my own because I know there's a bit of wild spirit in me. And I wanted to see, to learn through trial and error, to see how it is to be working on your own, to develop everything. I started, after I graduated from the coaching programs, I got a taste of social neuroscience. And then I learned that, wait a minute, there is a whole field, many branches of neuroscience, of emotions, of creativity, and so on and so forth. And I got a taste from these coaching programs to do more independent research. And then I got this this motivation, which I guess many people have when you discover something exciting on your own and you still want to try it on your own. Of course, I was talking with other friends and they were saying it would have been easier for you to just get a job in a consulting coaching company. And that may be true, but I wanted to develop myself some programs, some training packages, which I was selling to companies here in Finland. And through this trial and error, now it's been 6 years, I've been developing my business, and I can still say that I don't know where I'm heading, but it's very interesting for me. I have learned a lot about myself and about what it means to be self-employed.
Well, I commend you for making that jump. I get the sense that a lot of people, once they become entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, whatever you want to call it, it was because they worked in industry for a while and decided they didn't want to be in that bubble anymore of having to do what a company says that they have to do, or report to where the company says they have to report, especially now, because people are coming out of, the world is coming out of COVID. And for the longest while, people were working remotely. Some companies are now saying that you have to return to the office, and maybe some people don't want to. And if they don't want to, then what are their other options? It's either find another job that's amenable to remote work, or go off on your own and make your own schedule and work wherever you want to work from. And I think that's something that a lot of people are focusing on now. But it seems like you said 6 years ago you started this journey, so COVID wasn't even a consideration. You just left a postdoc, academia, went straight into self-employment and into entrepreneurship. So I certainly commend you for that. That certainly was a brave move to make. So, I mentioned the title of the book, How to Develop Your Creativity at Work. How did you come to the topic of creativity?
That's a very big coincidence, I would say. As I mentioned to you, I like to read books from different fields, and at one point in the first year of my solopreneurship, I found this book, which is called Wired to Create. It's the author is Scott Barry Kaufman, and co-authored with Caroline Gregoire, I think. And this book, Wired to Create, was a big aha moment for me, because they're talking about habits. Maybe you have read the book, habits of highly creative people. And the big aha moment was for me was that even if I didn't see myself as a highly creative person, I thought, wait a minute, maybe I am a little bit creative and I can help myself. Let's say if I'm on a scale from 1 to 10, creative 3, maybe I can push it to 6 or 7 if I am bringing on some habits into my life. And what kind of habits Scott Barry Kaufman and Caroline Gregoire were talking about? For instance, solitude. This was for me the most shocking because I'm a very social person. And I was like, goodness, do I have to be alone in the forest in order to be more creative? And I tried it, and not going in the forest for too long, but just going for a walk here in Helsinki. I don't know how much you know about this capital of Finland, but it's a very, like, there is a very good balance between urban and nature. Where I live, the forest is like 5 minutes walking. So this was one habit I started to take, like taking some long walks in the forest. And I try to put in practice some of the habits that were mentioned in Wired to Create. Another one was open ourselves to new experiences. And this was another freaking thing, because that meant going to networking and talking with people that you have never seen in your life. But I did it. I started identifying some interesting networking events here in Helsinki. And I went there trembling inside. And then I said, hey, it's worth bringing these habits of creativity. But then I started to think, be more interested. I didn't stop at this book. And I started to not only to put it in my life, the new habits, but also to do more research, because at the end of the day, I'm trained as a researcher. I have the researcher skills. This is one of the best benefits of having done a doctorate. So I started going to Google Scholar and put in, like keywords, creativity, motivation, workplace. And then the whole field of psychology of creativity opened up to me. And then I said, you know what? I would also want to be an expert in this field. I would also want to put my flag. And it took me maybe 5 years. I've been developing training packages with doctoral students in life sciences at Helsinki University to develop their creative thinking skills. But my book goes to another approach on creativity. Would you like to hear more about it?
Oh, yeah. So my next question, Dr. Velcu-Laitinen, was, I guess, within the context of what you do, what is creativity?
That's something I would like to clarify, because creativity, like love, can have so many meanings for you and me and our listeners. But the most standard way to define creativity is the combination of all the new ideas that result in a new idea, in an innovative idea, a product or a service. So that's the standard definition. And I guess that most of us, when we say creativity, we think of either a painting, what Picasso did, or we think of Einstein. It's very hard sometimes to think about our own creativity. But the way I define creativity in my book is the flexibility of learning new interests in different domains and the resilience to implement new ideas. So it's more on the management of emotions as a creative person, and more on the will and on the determination to contribute to the society with your perspectives. So that's what creativity is in my book. It's to put it differently, it's basically our ability to use our interests, and by interest I mean like curiosity in, I don't know, like a programming language, for instance. So curiosity in interests combined with out-of-box thinking. and combined with using our personality. Because in the book, I also talk about the importance of disrupting ourselves. And one way to do that is to think about our image. Do I see myself as a creative person? I didn't see myself as a creative person 5 years ago.
Right.
And that's why in my book, I take the reader step by step to introduce them to different concepts, like the concept of artistic creativity, the concept of functional creativity, and how we can work with these concepts to build this image, our own unique image of what kind of a creative person we are. So that's my definition of creativity. This kind of feeling that you are the person who is born to contribute with an original perspective or a new perspective in society.
With the work that you do with technical professionals, how do you work with them so that they can implement creativity in their work?
Yes, that is a great idea. And with technical professionals, I work on the creative thinking. This is again a bit different than what I mentioned earlier. This creative image that you have on yourself. The creative thinking is basically how you are wired, how your brain is wired to make connections, and I'm encouraging my participants to bring on thinking habits of creativity. What does it mean? Creativity is an umbrella term when we think about creative thinking, and it can refer to imagination. And we can stimulate our imagination, and that's what I'm teaching and practicing with my students by asking questions. We can ask first with asking why. Why is it so? Why am I learning what I'm learning? And then bringing in the what if. What if what I'm learning is not true? What if something else can be true? So this is one skill of creativity, the imagination skills, which in practice are our ability to ask ourselves questions. Another thinking habit which pertains to creativity is inspiration, which inspiration is, they say that you need to have an inspired mind. But for having an inspired mind to come up with new ideas, you need to be prepared. So I'm encouraging my students to take up one habit of learning frequently, something that is not very related to their field. Like, for instance, if I'm working with someone who is doing a PhD in bioengineering, then I'm asking them, why don't you go and study something related to business or something else of their free choice, of course, because free choice is very important when we talk about creativity. But we need to challenge ourselves a bit once in a while to be prepared for inspiration, to push a bit the boundaries of our mind, of what we know and what we learned and how we learned. We need to challenge ourselves by reading something different. So that's the inspiration part of creativity. And then also it's very important to experiment. Like, we learn a lot through action. And that's actually one thing I also learned in all these 6 years of solopreneurship. It's one thing what we reflect on ourselves in a safe space. And another thing, when you go out there in the world and interact with different people, we talk about our ideas. So that's why experimentation, it's good for us to think in these terms that, okay, now I have a new idea. I'm just gonna give myself, let's say, 3 months to experiment with this idea. I'm not gonna be very harsh on myself, but I'm still gonna try with different people to see how to hear myself talking about this idea. Do I like what I hear myself talking about myself to other people. What do other people, what is their reaction? And through this process of experimentation, we can become more used and more daring to come up with new ideas, to implement new ideas. Because that's another thing, there are many, and I see some people around us that they have big dreams, like some people maybe dream also to write a book. Some other people dream to be entrepreneurs. Some other people dream to change career, but they don't do it. And that's the idea, that the underlying principle in my book, that it's okay if you don't dare to, start from, zero again, but you can give yourself some moments of experimenting. Take not 3 months, 6 months to do something in your free time, and see how it feels. What do you discover? A new thinking about yourself, and maybe some big interest, like I discovered this interest in creativity, which made me still spend 3 years to write a book when I know very well that it's a concept that it's like more difficult to understand, more intangible, but still I wanted to do it. But I did my experimenting time with the students and other groups of people who want to change careers.
When you were talking, it reminded me of, I guess, the secondary purpose of this podcast. When I first started it, it was to delve into the public speaking journeys of people that come from the technical backgrounds. But then what it ended up being, or at least in part, is learning more about people's career journeys in general. And the people that have been really interesting to talk to are the ones who started off one place and went somewhere completely different. And because, a lot of people, I think you're right when you said a lot of people, they stay on this one path because they're scared to try something else. But you're proof that you can start somewhere, end up somewhere completely different. And I really like your points about imagination, inspiration, and experimentation. And perhaps more people to even think about these things should go into the forest in Helsinki so they can walk through and think about it, and maybe come to some different conclusions than what they had been before they got into the forest. One thing I wanted to ask you about your book is, what do you hope people take away from it after reading it?
That's a great question. And I hope people will understand that their creativity is more versatile than they think. What does it mean? This means that they may understand that they have some impulses to create that they are not aware of now. And in my book, I talk about 4 impulses to create. The first one is what artists have, which is this need of expression, of having deep emotional experiences and sharing them with the world. So this is one type of creative impulse. But there is another type of creative impulse, which I talk about, this tendency to look around in the communities where we live and to feel this like nudge to get involved and improve some aspects of people's lives. It can be, for instance, what leaders are doing, leaders of change, for example. They look around in their company and then they get some idea of how to improve a process or how to make a change of working culture. This is the second type of creative impulse, this tendency to develop the community or the society where you are an integral part of. Then the third creative impulse that I hope my readers are gonna discover and want to incorporate if they relate to it is this interest towards people. This is what mostly coaches and psychologists are doing. There are these people who are interested in the emotional life of people, and sometimes they're, like they are merely through their presence, they can help other people kind of heal their wounds. So this is the third type of creative impulse that some of the readers may have, but not yet developed. And the last and the fourth creative impulse is this attraction towards ideas, towards abstract. This is what philosophers and scientists are doing. So these four creative impulses, they can be in you and me and our listeners. The question is, which is more dominant and which one are you more willing to manifest it in the world? And it can be that sometimes it's a bit confusing. And I talk also about it, that people can have two competing creative impulses. Like on one hand, the societal impulse, the need to get involved and improve the community life. On the other hand, they can have the attraction of ideas. They want to talk about ideas, and then they have to figure it out. And I talk about this in the third part of the book. So I hope my readers, like, even if they, they will read the book and maybe they won't remember these four impulses, but they will say, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. I'm ready to try out one initiative that I feel that can bring a change, either in my life or in someone else's life.
Nice. So everyone who's watching or listening, you got four creative impulses to choose from. So, let's try to pick one and let's see where it leads us. Dr. Velcu-Laitinen, thank you so much for being a guest. How can people get in touch with you?
I think the easiest is to write to my email, oana@velcu.fi, or on LinkedIn, you can find me if you type my name, Oana Velcu-Laitinen. These are email or LinkedIn profile are the easiest way.
Excellent. Well, everyone, that marks the end of another edition of Teach the Geek interviews. My name is Neil Thompson. I'm the founder of Teach the Geek. It's an online platform for science and engineering professionals. Consider checking it out at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Oh, and one other thing. I offer a number of public speaking tips that you might find helpful. So to learn about that, you can go to teachthegeek.com/tips. Until next time, take care and stay safe. Thank you, Dr. Velcu-Laitinen.
Thank you, Neil. Bye. Have a nice weekend.